we are. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are closing out these sessions today with three incredible trailblazers in the cybersecurity space. I am genuinely honored to be hosting this panel. I have to say, feel like I know you already because they spent so much time seeing you online with other interviews, but it's wonderful to finally virtually meet. Before we jump in, I just want to share a little bit about myself. JR Mendoza, as you can see right there. I lead business diversity and community engagement for EVOTEK and the EVOTEK Giving Foundation. So my role is a little bit dynamic in the sense that I get to really have fun conversations about how we evolve and create a more equitable IT and cybersecurity industry, which I all know you are individually passionate about. So I thought we'd switch it up and do introductions a little bit differently. I'm gonna throw out a phrase to you individually, and I want you to give me your first thought and then a little bit of background on what that means. So Tal, I'm gonna start with you. Can you tell me what the female version of Robin Hood means to you?
So I started, I would say, to hack into computers and mainly like computer games, and then it becomes like a higher scale. And when I managed to hack many games, computer games, then I managed to win lots of prizes. And I just got so many things over and over again, and I didn't need to use more than one. And then I just gave it away to my friends, to my family, and therefore I had this nickname of the female version of Robin Hood when I just give free prizes to the people that I love. And out of a sudden, I just discovered that I have way more friends than I should. But yeah, it's like so that's what it is.
I love it. So essentially, you grew up as a hacker, is what I'm hearing. Yes.
Yes, correct. I grew up as a hacker, and without really knowing that it is a hacker. And with time, pretty much the army took it to the, let's say, the next level, which is, okay, Tal, stop helping your pocket, start helping your country. And then pretty much stop being pretty much like a black hat hacker and start being like a white hat hacker. And that's what I did.
Yeah, you used your hacking skills for good.
Yes.
Love it.
Now only for good in the past more than 10 years now.
So tell me, what is important about the date August 6th? Why is that memorable for you?
So August is when I would say that I drank a little bit, not too much. Well, maybe a little bit too much, but this is exactly where the time was right. I just had this idea of having my current company Gytpol on a piece of napkin. So that's how it started. And I was with my best friend, whose name is Tal as well. And I just say, oh, okay. I mean, and everything was super techy. He didn't understand. He didn't understand anything. And then it was like, Tal, no worries. I'm with you. I know your abilities. You will make it work. And he was my first believer. So, and yeah, it paid off. It pays off until today, but yeah, it was really, really nice.
So I would say so. I heard from a little bird that you were nominated as Cybersecurity Woman of the Year. And that at first you didn't really take that seriously because you're like, oh, it's another award that I'm getting, but you're making it to the top. You're a rising star. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, so many things happened since 3 months ago, which was actually during Black Hat, that I didn't really have time to celebrate the entrepreneur, the prize, which was really, really nice because they just called me on the stage. I came with my fanny pack with everything. I said, oh, okay, I took the prize. Oh, just say a few words, but I didn't really know that I'm going to win, so I didn't prepare anything. And usually, I'm not preparing anything. I'm not doing slides usually when I talk, and
Right.
And it was so. Again, natural. I just said what I believe in, which is my team, my family, and everything that all of the people that support me, and that we have a great company. So yeah, and then I still need to celebrate it at some point. Yeah, pretty much. I think it will be very soon.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you for sharing. I think we got a nice little dose of how you grew up in this industry, where you came from, and what your passions are. So thank you. Wenmiao, I'm going to change gears. I'm going to tee up a phrase, yellow submarine. Can you tell me why that is purposeful for you?
Oh, okay. So that is the name of a social enterprise cafe that's just a few minutes away from our office in Oxford. And that's generally where my team and I, and also where our summer interns earlier this year went to get lunch and also coffee. And they have this amazing initiative, which is providing a pathway into a job opportunity for people who are neurodivergent. So it's a really lovely community, and they also do amazing coffee.
I love it. And the reason that really resonated with me is at EVOTEK, we're really about community and giving back and serving. And so when I read that, I think I was reading something about your day, and that was like one of the things on your list for the day. And the fact that that's infused as something you purposely do in your day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month, I felt really resonated in a sense for us. But tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that you're a University of Oxford graduate, and I love your story of coming up. I graduated at USC at their grad program at the Ivy and Young Academy. And so I definitely relate with a lot of the experiences you've had. But tell me about Oxford and how that really changed the trajectory of your career.
Well, I think Oxford was an incredible place to be as a student, and especially to do your undergrad and also the master's. I studied chemistry, so I don't come from a quantum or a security background, but I spent my few years at university and the summers in between doing various internships to figure out what I wanted to do after graduating. And I think long story short, I realized that I wanted to be involved with new technology and with scientific innovation, but I was also really interested in seeing how that can be conveyed into a product that actually solves current market problems and can actually improve our day-to-day lives. And so my last time at university, when there was an opportunity to take part in this first program called the Student Entrepreneurs Program that Oxford University Innovation organized, I just leapt at that chance. And this was this incredible opportunity where it was fully funded. It happened over 4 weeks in the summer, and it just brought together various students from all across the university, from multiple disciplines, to come together, form teams, and to do an initial market research and to pitch to our local venture capital firm. And that's where I met my wonderful co-founders. We won some initial funding from the venture capital firm that sponsored this program. And then we slowly went through to various quantum technology focused incubators across the UK before finally raising our own funding, getting government funding as well, and set up independently.
Wow. Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, you were named 30 under 30 in Europe for 2023. Is that correct?
Yes. So my co-founders and I were really, really happy about that. And I think going to the 30 under 30 summit in Botswana earlier this year with one of my other co-founders and meeting all of the other incredible 30 under 30 listers, it just really opened my eyes to the very many definitions of success. I think from my personal experience, especially building a startup, it's very easy to almost have narrow vision, but going to events such as that and meeting a load of incredible and inspiring people just kind of gave me more motivation and also gave me more peer mentors that I could turn to when I need support.
Absolutely. It sounds energizing for sure. We're going to get into specifics of what each of your companies work on, but I do want to transition over to Madeline because she has a really dynamic background and exciting things coming. But your phrase that I'm going to pull out is Boys and Girls Club. Can you tell us a little bit about why that organization is so much a part and infused in your story and history?
Yeah, so we are going to take a drastic shift, I think, a little bit. So I grew up in very, very rural area. If you know anything about the state of Oklahoma, then it's dead last in education, last for children's well-being, and dead last for women overarching. And so I kind of gravitated towards the Boys and Girls Club for a number of reasons. But this role that I took when I was in high school, I would literally skip high school and go to work because I loved this connection that I built with my community. I was able to teach and create leadership classes, and I really fell in love with this women's class that I taught. But I loved it. It made such an impact on me because was it not just a place of healing for myself, for own personal trauma, but it really made me understand like what type of leader I wanted to be very early on and how to communicate to kids who I think are just unfiltered adults and how our words impact them. So it's such an amazing part of I think my personal journey and then just like my leadership journey as well.
I love it. And I know you transitioned from Boys and Girls Club locally in Oklahoma, right? But that organization essentially drove you to Atlanta, Georgia at some point, which I believe is how you got into the cybersecurity world. Can you explain a little bit about that story?
Sure. Wow, you really do know so much about us. I love this. We'll have to figure out what type of OSINT you have on us. So I was trying to get out of my own environment in Oklahoma, really figuring out, what I wanted to do when I grew up. And for me, the Boys and Girls Club was that kind of pathway for me to kind of figure out, how I wanted to make an impact. And so I drove a 36-foot U-Haul to Atlanta, Georgia, thinking that I was going to work at the headquarters while I was in college. That didn't happen. But instead, I had 4 or 5 odd-end jobs because I was still a poor kid from Oklahoma. And one of them was a front desk person checking in people at a hotel. And there I met a group of cybersecurity professionals who I got to meet and I gravitated towards them because I was like, what do you mean you work in cybersecurity? Like you're a bunch of group of hackers? Like, tell me what this is about. And, they created an opportunity for me to join their team. And I absolutely fell in love with this space and I found a space that I could be a servant in a different way.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. I just wanted to provide a rich background on where you all come from, because I believe that our upbringings are very much tell our story. It's part of our story. So I wanted to make sure I captured that effectively. But I want to switch gears because we're here to talk about cybersecurity and the impact that you're making on that industry. And so I'm going to give you each 60 seconds and give me, or if you could explain to our audience what your company does specifically. So Tal, I'll start with you.
Perfect. So as you know, hackers, they are always beating us, or they are trying to find a new way to hack in, and you will be surprised or not. But our solution is teaching you how to think like an attacker, because if you don't think like one, you won't be able to beat one. And it is true in so many ways. So what we can do is that we have the ability not only to detect today, but we have the ability to auto-remediate any device misconfiguration. And when I say device misconfiguration, I mean Windows, Linux, macOS, later also like Kubernetes, IoT. And it means that you can not only see what's going on, you can also auto-remediate it without an impact. Because if you think about, like manufacturing, healthcare, financial, anyone, so many people are afraid of doing something because they don't know what it is going to break. Mm-hmm. And in Gytpol, you can just do it without an impact. You can do it, let's say, we'd say no before you go, and you can remediate everything without any impact. And that's what we do, because the only alternative for Gytpol is manual best efforts. So, yeah, that's what we do on a nutshell.
Awesome. All right, Madison, I'm going to kick it back over to you. 60 seconds, and then I know, and I failed to mention this in the intro, but you are also, correct me if I'm wrong, the first candidate for Congress that has a cybersecurity background.
That is right. That is right. So you're identifying that I wear a couple different hats, which I have no doubt, just listening to the amazing things that both of these women do, that they probably wear 40 hats. So I'll kind of explain the two. I am the CEO of a cybersecurity company that is actually called Critical Fault. We do ethical hacking and digital forensics. I don't believe it probably needs too much of an overlay, but our focus is certainly within the critical infrastructure sector, healthcare, and we're actually looking to go to space. Not physically, unfortunately, but we are really looking and moving towards that industry, which we are very excited about. But yes, I am also running for U.S. Congress here in the state of Oklahoma, which, to provide background there, it's really a focus in ensuring that there's technical representation for the sake of economic development, for innovation, national security, and a number of other reasons.
Wonderful. Okay, last but certainly not least, Wenmiao, 60 seconds. Quantum base.
So we enable cybersecurity, and that's because any type of encryption right now depends on random numbers, but existing random number generators are failing for two reasons. They are either pseudo-random number generators based from computer algorithms, or they are classical hardware-based random number generators, which are both slow and also vulnerable to device attacks. So what we do is we leverage quantum mechanics, which is fundamentally probabilistic, to offer a true random number generator. And we have a patent for a self-certification protocol that can protect against silent failures or physical device attacks.
Excellent. Okay, next question. This is just an open question. We're going to move on. I guess I'm just curious, what do you individually believe is the biggest threat today as it pertains to cybersecurity?
I would say the insider threat, for sure. I mean, any sophisticated hacking group can find the weakest link on each and every company. In each and every company, they can just find person A or person B. They just know how to, everyone eventually you can buy with some money, and you just offer them whatever they want to hear, and they will do pretty much anything in order to do it. So the insider threat is something that everyone should be scared of, and that is something that we really elaborate in Gytpol, when you can definitely, again, let's say, stop the lateral movement, that after I am into your organization, I can move laterally. That is something that we can move, that we can stop. And of course, most of the things are still from the insider threats. I mean, we see it all the time.
Madison, I see you shaking your head. Are you in agreement with that?
I am, and I'll build on top of it. I agree with you. Insider threat is still a huge problem, obviously, because people are naturally the weakest link. And so me building off that, and then I'm going to say just continuous education and awareness. And it's not just the folks that we kind of generally think about, folks in marketing, folks in HR who are potentially further away from the technology side, but even technologists. It's shocking to me that I still hear about products being developed from individuals who have awareness around cybersecurity, but yet cyber is still kind of that afterthought because companies think that they're still too small to be thinking about cybersecurity. And working in the product space, anything that you're introducing is just expanding that attack surface. And so I think as the world of IoT continues to expand, as new innovations, whether in space or other industries, and we just need to continue to be thinking about how do I make this more secure, thinking about, how can an attacker make the biggest impact, and what new vulnerabilities am I exposing, organizations to, my customers, etc.
Wenmiao, anything to add to that?
I think both Tal and Madison had some really good points, and I like to also just pick up on one point that Madison said, which is about continuous education. I think, of course, that applies to individuals, to I guess consumer enterprises, but it also applies to those working within cybersecurity themselves. And the reason why I say so is because in the field of quantum technologies, and in particular quantum security technologies, it's still very much a nascent industry that's only just making its way from research from academia into industry. So I think we've definitely seen a lot of very forward-thinking leaders in, for example, more mature industries such as telecommunications or finance, where they are really willing to take the risk to try new technologies such as quantum key distribution, post-quantum cryptography, or quantum random number generation. And I think it's really leveraging the experience of these senior security leaders and also combining them then with leading technologists. I feel like that gives one of the best ways for us to help new technologies such as quantum security technologies get into the wider and more mainstream market.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because I would make an assumption that much of what you do is also educating, right? And helping customers understand the importance of this and then how to build it out. And so I did have one question I wanted to ask, because at EVOTEK, there is a portion of our business too that puts on that educator hat, that advisory hat, right? They come to us asking for one thing, but not understanding implications to other things. And so I'm just curious, what is your approach or strategy when you're working with customers about getting them to think about building for and towards the future and these threats?
That's a really good question, and one I think that we're still trying to find out the exact right solution or approach to is, I think we do it on a trial and error basis, but what we have found works really well is actually just giving the physical products, putting that into the hands of customers and really letting them use it, own it, test it, try to break it, try to build new solutions on top of it. Because we felt that a lot of times it's the engineers and the security architects who reside in our customers' organizations who actually have really specialized and focused problem areas and are really best positioned to see exactly how our technology should be packaged into a product that they can then use wider across that company. I think thinking, I guess, on a slightly more systems level, we've found it incredible to be supported by a lot of the other quantum technology companies in the UK, especially those who are looking at building kind of ground-based or fiber-based quantum communication systems, or even satellite-based quantum communication system. So at the moment, because we are such a new industry, we do have a lot of interactions in between each of the different companies. And it's really good to have an amplified voice when we do come together as an industry and go through various industry working groups to then speak to policymakers or to target a wider range of potential end users.
And I have to add also, if you would ask me, one of the things that people always forget is that they need to go back to the basics, right? I mean, people are always, rushing and running. Oh, there is a new technology here, no, a new technology there, without even protecting their base, which is the crown jewels, which is exactly what the hackers are looking for. And one of the ultimate, or the first thing that I always say to customers is that, hey, I mean, don't forget that at the end of the day, the hackers just want to get into your device. I mean, the things that you have in the cloud are okay, but it's not as it's not as important as what you have inside your organization. And if you think about any kind of, again, healthcare, financial, manufacturing, whatever it is, they still have most of their important data is kept not in the cloud. Okay, I would say it like that. So yeah, go back to basics. Just protect what you can and what you already have, and not what you will have in 20 years or 5-10 years time. So that's another thing, another important thing, another important layer to add on top of it.
I think that's a really good point. Absolutely. Madison, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just keep going through the questions. I think the one piece that I'll add just to keep us moving, or maybe put in a new train of thought, but in both of the examples that the ladies have provided here, I mean, I think history is the best teller of the future. There's so many lessons learned that we can take to apply to how we adopt new technologies. And I think that we forget about that sometimes. What I found really interesting is when folks were running to migrate to the cloud because they wanted to harness the analytics of the cloud or the monitoring capabilities, et cetera. Then it was more so like, just lift and shift and not necessarily think about some of the infrastructure problems that they already had. And it was just like a clear adoption. So you saw a lot of pullback from the cloud and then a more methodical approach. And so, I'm very systematic in my thinking. And so, what have we learned in historical contexts to adopting new technology across different industries, et cetera. And so I think information sharing is such an important thing for all of us in the security space.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's a good transition to my next question, which is, I believe one of you mentioned this idea of monetization, right? We're doing it. Customers want monetization. It's the word, right? However, it was brought up that with monetization, I think this is what you're saying, Madison, is that you are also unearthing vulnerabilities if it's not approached in the right systematic way. And so I'm just curious to know, what are the watch outs when a company comes to you or EVOTEK to do a monetization? What are those potential vulnerabilities that should be watch outs?
Sure. So I typically work in the ICS space, so I'm going to talk from that perspective. So please add in any context. But typically it is, I love Tal's like, let's get back to the basics. Like, let's just do a couple of things right so that we're building a strong foundation. And that's the hardest thing in specifically the ICS space, because you have so much legacy equipment and so much tech debt that you're just trying to like build on top of. And so I think the biggest pitfalls are through like poor vendor management practices, not really understanding, who owns specific risk or who has the liability, understanding that perhaps the product that you're plugging in isn't necessarily hardened, and who is going to be managing those systems. I mean, to me, those are some of the biggest problems that I'm still seeing, and the biggest and easiest ways for our teams to kind of get in.
And also on top of it, so if you, again, and it's going to be a little bit techie conversation now, but some of the vulnerabilities, they have no patch because they are end of life. And the only way to do it is just to disable them, to remove them, whatever, okay? But you can't, because other system is relying on it, right? So as like the most critical system in the bank is relying on SMBv1, okay? But what is it that you will do? Oh, will you just disable the SMBv1? Everyone wants to disable the SMBv1, but the main problem is that, again, the fact that you do not have the eyes on what really works, what really needs this SMBv1 and what not. So I'm going back a little bit to my solution, but just again to emphasize how it works. So we've been to so many places that they told us, oh, no. I mean, for example, SMBv1 or TLSv1, we need it. I mean, it is still there. And we use it. I mean, don't touch it. And then when they run Gytpol, they just see that 80% of the times, okay, or 80% of the devices, it is open and it's not in use. And no, it must be in use. And then, no, it wasn't used in the past 3 months. I mean, okay, you want me to extend it to 6 months? Okay, I'll show you that it wasn't used. It wasn't being used. And then when they see it, they find it hard to believe it, because they convince the management and everyone that they are right. And then, there comes another, like a new tool, and then it shows them the completely the opposite. And it's not only that, it's everything from even like 0 days, like Log4j. If you think about it, think how many software they are still obsolete, that they have the vulnerable Log4j version. They are still out there. But again, you won't update the software because the software is obsolete. You are too afraid to upgrade the Log4j because maybe you will ruin something in the software. And it's all about, what is it that you need to do. So we just found like a nice way, without going to the internet and download any packages to destroy your organization, but just to do it in such an easy way, just to replace in the Log4j scenario. So 2 lines of code that even Apache, the owner of Log4j, adapted and took our solution. And we just do it without any, let's say it doesn't matter what version of Log4j it is. So we see it in so many aspects that, vulnerabilities, people just as you said, Madison, I mean, people are just pretty much avoiding it. Oh, okay. I mean, we will see probably in the next report. Oh, we will try to address the top 5, but they do not address it properly because probably and in the next report they see it over and over again. And yeah, that's what we see all the time. And it's such a it is a, if you think about it, it takes so much time to fix it. It takes too much effort, and you will never do it 100%. You just cannot. You're just I don't know, like chasing after your own tail.
Yep. Wenmiao, do you have anything to add?
I don't think I have anything to add to that specifically, but I just noticed there was a question from the crowd.
There is
and the question was, could quantum dice be used to enable Madison's company to go to space? I thought that was kind of a funny question. I'm not quite sure, really. But I guess to give a bit more context, we have developed a space-suitable version of our hardware product, and it will be going into space at some point over the next few years in one of our partners' satellite. So they are building a quantum communication system using small sats called CubeSats. And we're super excited about that, both for the launch and also for seeing this final demonstration of satellite-based quantum communication systems.
Maybe our team will test your system. So
Perfect.
We'll hack you, and then we'll bring Gytpol in. She's on actually this side of me. We'll bring Gytpol in to help figure out what else help to improve and build on. One thing I want to pull on, because I think it's important, is I think that we're still in this mode as an industry of figuring out what security still means. You know, I think when we walked the Black Hat floor for the past 5-6 years, then it was all about visibility, and then it was all about monitoring, and then we have all these great dashboards, but actually that's not security. It's great that you can see the things, but if you can watch a dart hit you in the face, that doesn't make you any more secure. And so there was so much investment into monitoring capabilities when we still weren't really having the right amount of coverage from just an asset management, really understanding what's in the environment and what the processes are to harden them. I think that we're kind of understanding that because CISOs and teams are becoming more cyber aware. And the industry, I think, is taking a little bit more responsibility in understanding that we need to be focusing on actual security measures.
Absolutely. And I think us being in the industry and having the knowledge that we have, it puts that on us, on our onus too, to be those educators. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And just kind of taking a lens towards the future, I do have a very aspirational question, and take it any way that you want to take it. But I'd be curious, if I was to invite you back here in the next 5 to 10 years, I want to know what you believe your company, how it would have evolved from where it is today and the mark that you hope to make on cybersecurity industry.
I'll start. So first, I'm also the product, so I know exactly that, let's say my R&D has, all of them, they have many things to do in the next few years, and we are growing, but still so many things are being added because of, or thanks to our customers. We rely on our customers. We are a bootstrap. I mean, unlike so many cybersecurity startups. And we want to keep adding more and more things. And again, that makes sense, because if it makes sense for one customer, we make sure that it makes sense for other customers, and then we just add those things. But if you would ask me personally what I really want to do, I mean, it's not only helping organizations around the world to think like an attacker, and also to protect, and I want Gytpol to be the next big thing in the whole security stack of each and every organization, pretty much a basic thing that everyone takes without thinking twice. But in my individual thing, I really want to it's enough helping only organizations. If I can help the individual, and when I say individual, I mean I started some kind of a project, although I just pause it because I have no time to manage it right now, which is the schools within hospitals, to help the specific to help kids, children with that cannot go to school, and of course their parents need to be there the whole time. They do not have any social friends. I mean, like they do not have social life, and their friends are, I mean, the group of friends are is very limited, and to help them to have like pretty much like a school, like not a virtual school, but like someone that will come, like of course like many people usually from the industry, that and they will teach them from 8 to 5. We already started actually with a few hospitals. I'm from Israel, so worth mentioning it. So Israel, and then also some kind of a few hospitals in the UK. So yeah, we see the need, we understand the need, but again, this is more philanthropical kind of thing, and not nothing to do with cyber right now, but it's like to do good for the world.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. I said you could take it any way you want it.
Okay. Thank you.
Madison, you want to go next?
Sure. So hat number one, being in the cyberspace. Hopefully we've hired another wonderful, amazing CEO of the company, and is just continuing to help innovate in the cyberspace as it relates to hacking and keeping techniques and tools modernized to help these new emerging technologies not to continue to make some of those same mistakes that we've talked about here today. And we also have the launch of a new product over the next 6 to 8 months, so I really hope to see its success over the next 5 years. I would say, on putting the other hat on, taking one off, putting one on, I would be in hopefully my second term as a congresswoman for the state of Oklahoma. And thank you. I didn't know if you were snapping your fingers, but I'll take that as well. It's okay. We can also flip our hair, whatever you'd like. What I would hope to be able to accomplish is just really like being a bridge between policy and the cyber industry. I think there's a lot of distrust there due to the lack of understanding of the space. And so there does need to be a huge ingestion of technology and what that means and how regulation is holding the space back, whether that be from commercialization or us making, major societal changes, whether that be in the energy industry, whether that be in personal data privacy when it comes to healthcare, and what that means if you took 23andMe and now we're seeing huge data breaches, or our insurance going to provide coverage for predictive analytics around what you could be preconditioned to. What does it mean to what does our national security space look like? What does our national defense look like in 5 years? Oh my God! I mean, what is the global atmosphere going to look like? And how are we preparing for warfare that's no longer going to be kinetic, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope to be the bridge in so many good ways for both the industry across a number of intersections as it relates to just society.
Absolutely, we definitely need that for sure. Wenmiao.
Well, we're currently fundraising at the moment. So I think in a couple of years' time, I would have hoped that our company would have delivered an on-chip quantum random number generator for use in the consumer IoT market. So getting our devices even into mobiles, laptops, so that even the day-to-day user can have assured random numbers for use in their data security protocols. And I think from a company culture perspective, we started this year with a team of 8. We're now about 20 full-time people. And I know that in the next few years, there will be quite a significant number of growth as well. And my hope is that in a few years' time, I will still be able to say that we are a very culturally diverse and also very patient, accommodating, and also very driven organization.
Love it. And I asked that question because I always like to dig into your brains, since you're in this industry and this is your expertise, just to see what you're thinking and where the future lies for you are great indicators for those that are not so much in cybersecurity per se. So thank you for sharing that, and may all your dreams come true. I sure hope they do. As I know, we have about 5 minutes left, so I want to be cognizant of time. If there are any questions that come in, please populate them. But I do want to shift gears a little bit as we wait for any potential questions. And I want to talk a little bit about community because I'm hearing a lot. Well, each of you have your individual hearts to serve and do more and take, what you've been afforded and do some other good in the world besides this industry per se. So, Wenmiao, I'm going to stay on you, and I want you to share a little bit about Quantum Dice launching the summer schools shadowing scheme. What is that? Why is that important to you?
Yep. So that's a fully funded scheme for 16 to 18-year-olds from anywhere in the UK, and they will be invited to spend a few days in the summer with us at Quantum Dice and directly working with the founders as well as with our technical and also commercial teams. And the reason why this is an initiative that I was very, very involved and also driven to realize is because I still have my own experiences as a new graduate from a university, trying to fundraise, trying to build a company with no prior work experience. And that was really, really difficult. But it was made so much easier by the incredible network of mentors, business supporters, and also an amazing startup network that we had in Bristol, in Oxford, and also in London. And I'm quite keen to also create schemes that can give other young people both funding as well as the opportunity to do direct work experience on tangible projects that they can then either use to further their interest in the quantum sector or in the kind of university applications, or hopefully inspire them to come and join us in this industry in the longer term.
Absolutely. I mean, much needed. At the foundation, we have a women in tech program. So it really resonated just to read that you're equally invested in that. And I think it's very necessary to, get more women out there and leaders and make sure that they have the support and mentorship to succeed. So really appreciate that work. Madison, you've spoken a lot about this already, but I guess I'd love to get a little bit more background on what Give a Damn means to you and why you decided to run for Congress.
Yeah. So for audience context, my campaign slogan is "It's time politicians give a damn about Oklahoma." Apologies of how brash that is, but it seeds from a deep frustration of individuals not taking care of my home. And we can, bring that context up to the nation. We can bring that context down to the state. And, what I mean by that is the fact that I already threw out some stats around the kind of neglect that has happened, whether that be the impact on education, overall healthcare, just the investment in rural America. And so, to me, that is supposed to be this ignite a passion and understanding that people do care about others and want to support and help others in a way that is, not in a kind of a cliche manner. I think that right now we're in this time, this political paradigm where there's a lot of talking happen, but there's no passion and there's a lot of empty promises because there's just a complete disconnect of what individuals need, kind of the direction the country needs to go in. And so it's really to jar the system in itself in hopes that we here in Oklahoma can make a huge impact and create change across the state. So that's what the phrase means to me. And I think for anyone who knows me who's listening, it very much kind of fits my own personality as well to kind of bulk back against the machine. And maybe Tal, that's my hacker mentality that I'm bringing forward to break things.
Yeah. And I think what I've seen across the board with all three of you is just owning who you are, and without any reservation, right? Being bold and being out there. And so, Tal, we're going to take it home together here. But in an interview that I watched of you, I think you were asked what was most exciting about being a cybersecurity expert. And I love that you called out it was just being a woman. And so I was just wondering if you could maybe expand on why that is so important to you as one of the most exciting things about being an expert in this space, and what advantages you believe being a woman in this space gives you or affords you.
So I know that we don't have much time. I'll try to make it very, very short. So first, being a woman, I mean, no one expects you to be techie. No one expects you to have this knowledge of again, the deep knowledge of the technology. And this is one of the things that I really like when someone, that you exceed the expectations of everyone pretty much in front of you. And being a woman in this industry wasn't always easy for me, at least for me. And I know that there are so many challenges that we need to go through all the time. The fact that we are women in this industry, which is a man dominant for sure. I tried, and I think that I am finding out what encourages other women to join this industry, because most of the women, what they do, which is again the nature. So right. we want to bring life, I mean, to the world. So we want to have our the next generation, the next cyber generation, and the reason is that and it is all of, I mean, there is a conflict because, you need to be a mom. So now, okay, I mean, what part-time, full-time, and working in cyber is not that easy. It's not like, it's like you work sometimes 24/7, you need to be available. But when workplaces, they know how to balance it, and even they know how to balance it, and that is exactly what I do with some other startups actually, when they feel what is it, like being a mom, and they know that it's not that we just, we are not only moms, we are doing way more than that, and they understand that our ability to do many things in parallel is possible, and is doable. So that is something that they finally managed to understand, that okay, we don't need to work 24/7 what we used to do, but even if we work like 5, 6, 7 hours, in the first few months or a bit after, I mean, and the fact that we do in the 5, 6, 7 hours what others usually do in more than that, right, then it makes sense for them. And now they see, and the approach now has been changed or is changing, slowly but surely. And I see more and more women that are joining this community because of the flexibility, because of the thing that we finally allow them to do, and because I don't know if it is the Me Too, but because of the other things that finally we see that there is some limits, or good limits, about what is it that you can or can't do. So I would say it, and again, I try to be very, very short in the answer, but yeah, we see the trends. I mean, it is getting there. We do see more and more women, and not only like in a regular women in cyber, but also women in cyber in leading roles, mm-hmm, which is again something really important as well. So yeah, and we are working on it to keep growing it. So no worries.
I appreciate that. And I think for all those women who are in the industry watching this, it's inspiring. I encourage everyone to learn more about each of you. I know that, over the last few days, like I said, I'm just very grateful. Unfortunately, I can't meet you in person, but hopefully one day, but very fortunate, very honored to be side by side for you, and just grateful for what you're doing, not only in the industry, but just in the community, to continue to elevate and uplift in your respective areas. So I just want to say a huge heartfelt thank you from myself and the EVOTEK team for taking the time, sharing your talents, and sharing your heart. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Okay. We are going to be right back for our closing remarks. But thank you so much, and stay tuned.